Hey, it's Les from the TV Dudes. This week, I'm excited to chat with Glory Crampton, the acclaimed musical theater soprano and global concert soloist, about her new video, Project 9. The video just won 3 Telly Awards, including Best Music Video, and features a cast of Broadway regulars. We discuss that, her amazing career, and much more. You can watch Project 9 on YouTube now, and the link is in the description. Check it out. I hope you check it out. So I'm excited to get to talk to you. Partly Project 9 is an incredibly neat video that folks can go watch on YouTube right now. And of course the Telly Awards that it's won. But your career has just been absolutely wild. The amount of travel, the folks you've shared stages with, cast recordings. And then I feel like your TEDx speaking just comes logically out of the question I would ask you, which is, how do you keep it fun for you and not have stage fright and a change in stakes ruin what you love?
Yeah.
And so I was excited to talk to you about all of it. So starting with Project 9, can you talk a little bit about how that came about and what it was like to put that together?
Sure. So, during the pandemic, Broadway was in lockdown, obviously, as we all were, the world was. And so, I had started talking to some of my actor friends, and everybody was starting to feel really discouraged because obviously we're all home, we're isolated. And I started to think of a way to share Broadway talent, get some singers, dancers, musicians together, and to find a way to create something that, gave out the message that Broadway's unstoppable. We're not going to just sit here for a year and a half and wait. So I decided to, I got 32 people involved and about 16 actors I filmed completely separately in or within their quarantine homes. And it is a tribute to Arthur Kopit and Maury Yeston's Broadway musical 9, which is, I don't know if you know 9, but it's a Tony Award-winning musical that was based on Federico Fellini's 8½, black and white movie. So I had done the show years ago, and this cast that I brought together had stayed very close together. It's all women in the cast. It's a cast of 20-something women and one man who is an Italian movie director, and one 9-year-old boy who is his 9-year-old self. And so I basically reinvented a way to a medium that I had never done. We had to take all the recordings completely separately from each actor, each musician, and we stacked them on top of each other on our computers and found a way to create this orchestra track and combine all the vocals. And then we took all the video, single people, and had to weave them together in the editing room. And that is what took most of the time. So it took me about a year from beginning to end. And 9 is, it's based on this Italian movie director, Guido Contini, who's facing this midlife crisis, so to speak, and he's creatively dry. He's, has a loss of purpose in his life, and it's all these women that he starts pulling on from the past and the present he kind of brings them forth, and they start reflecting back to him and kind of helping him along the way until he faces his 9-year-old self and ultimately gets to his new normal.
There's something,
yeah.
There's something really kind of quietly magical about the layering of both the visuals and how great the sound is on it. When I watched it, because you know when it was shot, and then it can have a self-tape vibe just because you are one person with a camera filming this other person. On the one hand, it looks like something, I could shoot myself doing that in my home. And then you realize that no, there's 2 or 3 people being layered together here, and little edit. Every once in a while I would realize the amount of effort and work that had to have gone into assembling this. I know you have experience with the playwrights from Phantom and from other things. When it came to getting these performances out of people, was that a new or different experience for you?
No, because we had done the show together 10 years earlier. So all of us had done this as a group. And I think the hardest part was really, now we were not on stage anymore. And now we're directing these girls and Bob to really bring it down into a more personal place and energetically take it down for the camera. So that was the biggest challenge, was doing that during the filming, but then through the editing, actually creating the drama through it. So you're actually getting the emotional impact of the piece through, the kick of a woman, a quick turn of her head or her eyes. That's how I had to create the actual, the impact you would get by seeing the show on stage live.
Yeah, in the handful of folks that I've gotten to talk to in the past year who have moved a play into a Zoom style or a streaming space or tried to do something in the last year, I've been struck by it just wouldn't have occurred to me the having to change the performance or modulate it somewhat for that gap between playing to the back row and having a camera on your every blink and movement.
Yeah.
I can imagine it being odd to or interesting to take your own role from 10 years ago and get to play with it in that manner, almost like doing an acoustic version of your song.
Yeah, it really was. And it was really, I found it really exciting, especially to see all these women again that I hadn't, we kept in touch, but I hadn't seen them in person for a while. And each of them were so beautiful. And I was really struck by how each person in the cast was really has come into her own. And and as we all were revisiting these roles that we had done, it was a very different experience, but more rewarding in certain ways than the first time of doing it live.
I could see it both being a great pandemic project to have going as things get stressful, that you had something creative to keep working on. But I could also, regardless of the things going on in the world, a 10-year check-in is just a neat idea for any production, really. You could go back and look at almost anything you've done like that, and I'm sure it would be revealing and interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
When it comes to things you've gotten to do in your career, I know that I look at the list and think, well, I probably would have lost my voice and passed out in front of President Bush, or being in Abbey Road Studio or something. When you're going through these things, was there ever one that just surprised you, where you went, oh my gosh, I'm twice as nervous about this than I thought I'd be?
It was always surprising because sometimes, nervousness on stage kind of creeps up on you at times where you don't expect it. I could do an opening night of something and it would be fine. And then I'd have three people in the audience that really, mattered to me, and I would be nervous. So it kind of, stage fright can kind of creep up on you at any time, but every single actor I know has gone through it, has had moments of, for whatever reason, you can, nerves can kind of come up on you. And I'm trying to think, one thing that I talk in my TEDx talk about is when it kind of crept up on me one time when I was doing Phantom. And I wasn't expecting that. And it was just because I lost my voice. And then that rolled into the fear and all that sort of thing. So I think a lot of my career has been about completely learning how to step into my body, my breathing, how to short circuit those thoughts or the nerves when they come, and how to kind of just bypass them. So, I think it's really important because everybody faces that. And I've learned so much myself that it's really powerful when you start to learn these techniques to just, let it go.
Yeah. I think probably a lot of us in high school or college kind of got into a mode of thinking, well, prep. If I stay prepared and I'll be ready, and then I can tell those nerves to chill out because I know that I did a ridiculous amount of prep for this. And then you hit some point in your career or in your some creative endeavor where you have all your questions written out for the interview, and you look up at somebody and just can't make words. And or I have no doubt that Simone Biles showed up prepped for the Olympics, and you can still get the yips, you can still get the twisties, and get in your head. When you felt that nervousness and things started to glom onto it of, well, oh my gosh, if I can feel nervous here, then maybe I don't know what I'm doing. Well, then maybe this. Do you have a way now or something that you recognize and change to try to head that off?
I think now, because I've been performing for so many years and I've been in so many situations that are high pressure, that I don't have that as much anymore where I, feel that. I feel, it's always normal to have butterflies in your stomach before you perform. Even now, like seasoned performers, that's part of the fun of it. You feel that excitement before you go on, and your body is just a little, you have to really ground into your breathing. I think that's the most important thing, because your grounding, really, nerves will affect you in your breathing the most. So when you really, I'll ground my feet really to the floor and breathe deeply into my diaphragm. And that always helps, but and I do a lot of visualization, before I'm doing a show or a concert. I think about that concert. I think about that stage. I'll look at the venue before I sing. And I'll get there, the day before, and I really look at it and visualize everything.
I have found even just planning my day, visualization like that can really help, and even in just terms of productivity. There really is something about even just imagining it so that you're not surprised somehow. It seems silly. It's not like you've really done it, but I used to hear about athletes running a race in their head the night before or something, and thought, well, that seems sort of magical. And I'm 40. I don't need to know how things work. They work.
I always say too that one of the things I like to remind myself is our imagination is the most powerful tool that we have, because visualization is your imagination. You can imagine it going, incredibly well, and the more detailed you are, the more prepared you are. So, athletes do that a lot.
When I know you've you're an actress, you're a singer, you're have done modeling back in college. Um,
Hmm.
when you were,
Oh, how'd you know
uh, your
that?
Instagram was at the bottom of one of your. I feel like a
Oh,
stalker. I
right.
promise. It was your Instagram. Um, in terms of being bit by the acting bug, knowing you wanted to be on stage, knowing you can sing, when it came to picking a path that you really wanted to go for, was there some show or some experience that kind of made you go, I want to do musical theater, I want to sing?
Yes, as a matter of fact. So I was an athlete growing up. I was a diver. I started when I was 8 years old, and I was a AAU swimmer diver, and I was competitive my whole, growing up years. I spent 3 hours at the pool every day, all summer, and I wanted to go to the Olympics. And that was my goal, to be an Olympic diver. And so what happened was I was about 17 and I got the lead in the school play. I got the lead in Guys and Dolls at school, and I got the acting bug there. And I went to all my coaches and I said, you know what? I don't think I want to be a diver anymore. I want to be an actress. And so that was big news, and I completely changed course. And I, shocked my parents, and I went to NYU and started studying acting. And I think diving really, set me up for being a stage actress too, because of the pressure you go through as an athlete and, the high stakes. And I think that discipline really set me up well.
Yeah, that would make sense. I mean, obviously you're on a diving team, but there's a moment that there simply is not in football or something where you're the person standing up on the diving board for that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see wanting that spotlight then, or at least having been well prepared by that type of coaching for that excitement.
Yeah.
It's like you said with the butterflies.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole point of being there a little bit. You just can't have them prevent you from then doing it.
Exactly. And my coaches would put me on the high board. The 3 meter is the high diving board, which is not where I was competitive. I was on a 1 meter, but they would do that to just terrify me, so that by the time I got back to the smaller, the 1 meter board, I was
thank goodness I'm back to a meter.
How's that for reverse psychology?
Well, at least I'm not up there. Thank you so much for talking to me about it all today. This is great. I really appreciate you calling back.
I'm so happy to talk to you, and it's a pleasure.
Have a great rest of your evening. Thanks.
Thanks, Les. You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
TV Dudes is an independently run podcast out of Austin, Texas. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/TVDudes.
You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TV Dudes. All the music for our show is done by our friend and original TV dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith.
To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com. I'm Randy Lander.
I'm Les Weiler.
And I'm Kyle Scott.
Thanks for listening.